Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But it comes at a price. Samantha Horwitz and John Salerno work with police departments across the country to bring valuable recovery, insight resources, and workshops. A Badge of Honor TV brings those professionals to you so we can come together and revitalize communities through a better understanding of what's at stake and what's required for repair. So take a load off and turn up your TV. It's about to get real.
Hey, welcome to Mental Health Monday with John and Sam on A Badge of Honor. We are powered by the OBBM Network, and it is a beautiful, beautiful day here in Texas. I want to start off real quick. Sam, I'm sorry I didn't give you a quick introduction, but I have this weighing on my mind. I know it's weighing on your mind too. Want to dedicate today's show to the Idaho first responders, the police department, and their families, for the
fire department. Yeah.
For the tragic events that unfolded this past weekend. I can't imagine what they're going through. So on behalf of A Badge of Honor, myself and Sam, our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody in Idaho at this time. Absolutely.
I don't think anybody who was following, the breaking live, and it went on every social media, on every TV screen. When we think of firefighters and we think of the job of being a firefighter and what they do, the last thing that these men and women think about is being shot. And
we've had it a few times before,
right? But in general,
yeah, right.
And then dealing with a details, it's going to be weeks before we know exactly what happened. The gunman is dead, apparently by his own hand. Certainly not thinking about incoming sniper fire, right? I mean, you've got people coming off the mountain. They're trying to fight this fire. And I will say the current state of being a first responder in America is not good.
I agree. It's got a lot to do, and we'll say that I'm going to say it again with our politicians,
100%.
Who do not 100% back our law enforcement and our first responders. When you think about it, our medics, our paramedics, and our fire departments are the most vulnerable against the government right now, for psychos like this. And when is it going to come a time now that what law enforcement will have to respond to every house fire, make sure the scene's secure before the fire department rolls in, or every medical call? The culture has changed so much since 9/11 because of these left-wing politicians putting such a target on our first responders. So I blame them. I blame those who have put a target on our first responders.
Yeah, and a lot of rhetoric
on their hands.
A lot of rhetoric to do harm to our first responders. And our guest tonight, he is certainly no stranger to law enforcement. He did more than 30 years. He's got an amazing background. And he is now continuing to serve our law enforcement beyond Texas. So let's welcome to A Badge of Honor TV. Welcome Clint McNear to the TV show. Welcome, Clint. Thanks for being with us.
Yes. Good evening. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. Just for everybody watching and listening on their favorite podcast app, just tell everybody about your background.
Yeah, so you mentioned I retired from Garland PD, spent my police career there, worked before that a short time as a jailer. Before that, served in the Marine Corps, retired in 2013 and went to work for Texas Municipal Police Association, where I still work. Was elected last year Honored to be elected as the president of Texas Fraternal Order of Police, and still serving in that capacity, and co-host Blue Grit podcast. Great show like y'all's.
It is an amazing podcast. I got a chance to listen to a couple of episodes. For folks that may be listening that are outside of Texas, can you just real quick explain how TMPA and the FOP support our law enforcement?
Yeah, great question. TMPA has about 34,000 Texas peace officers that are members. We provide legal representation, representation at the Capitol on legislative issues. You guys were talking about elected officials. We provide training around the state. FOP is also prevalent here in Texas, and kind of one and the same. Both are advocating for law enforcement, trying to defend against some of the crazy folks and some of the crazy ideas that come out of capitals around the country. But a lot of it, too, is legal support when officers are forced into a deadly force situation. We provide representation, and a field rep will go out to the scene and check on everyone to make sure they're safe.
You know, Clint, we're talking about the representation in the Capitol. What me and Sam hear is, basically by the news, they are our opinions, pretty much, because we're not on the Capitol Hill. We don't, we see the rhetoric on TV, we hear the voices, but you are up close and personal. And I know how it makes me and Sam feel to hear this stuff on the TV, certain politicians defunding the police. I don't know how you keep your calm on Capitol Hill. What are some of the things that you hear that we may not be privy to? Or are we off base?
Yeah, it's really crazy. My numbers are about 2 weeks old, but as of around June the 9th, there's been 144 officers shot this year. There's been 17 killed, but 35 officers have been shot in 28 separate ambushes. 35 shot in 28 separate ambushes. I saw an article this morning that said Philadelphia, Minneapolis, and New York have finally had to acknowledge that the defund experiment didn't work. And now, after refunding the police department, their murder rates are dropping, some of them up to 58%, which is good news.
That's great news.
You hear about this mayoral candidate, Mamdani, who wants to free drugs, abolish NYPD, and just kind of when you think the tide is shifting a little bit, even more madness rolls out.
Yeah, that might be a hashtag. More madness rolling out.
I feel like we take a step forward sometimes and then 2 steps back.
I think you're right, and for me and John, John being there most of his life, and me working there and kind of secondhand growing up, because my dad was in the service and got a stint on Governor's Island before that closed out. Seeing the madness in New York, that's the only way to explain it. The leftist madness, and we are not in general a political show,
sure,
but we can't ignore the fact that our first responder community and their families are being directly affected by the madness that exists right here in Texas as well. You go to Austin, you go to Houston. There's no, I don't know, John. I think New York's going to be left with choosing the lesser of two evils. And I have to say, I would be backing Eric Adams in this election over somebody who wants to turn it into a socialist, I don't even city,
The scary part about that, the scary part about that is Eric has some issues behind him.
Yeah.
He's got some baggage that he ran into some problems, and you're right, he's probably the better mayoral candidate at this point. But you have so many people in New York right now that are saying free giveaways, and we're looking at a Generation Z that gets all their news and media and propaganda from TikTok.
Right.
So when they hear all this stuff, they're going to go out and they're going to vote for this communist, socialist, terrorist. And that's the best way to put his title. And he's going to run New York City into the ground, and then he'll flee. and he'll leave the dirt trail like what happened in Detroit way back when.
Yeah.
And you'll have a wasteland of a city, and everybody's going to be there scratching their heads going, well, what happened? Well, this is what happens. That's what shows the power of the vote. Do your research on your political party. Don't be swayed by anybody else.
Yeah, and we have the same thing. There was an interview this morning in La Jolla, Texas. The sheriff there supporting ICE. Clint, what are you hearing from the departments out there in Texas, especially as we get closer to the border? But it's not just the border. Yeah. ICE is doing raids all over the place. And the support behind that.
Yeah, for Texas specific, it's been a really big sense of relief because the numbers are down historically, lower than they have been in a long time, and our people were tired. I visited the border on multiple occasions, and you visit with DPS, our state police, the local police, federal agents down there. And during the time they were handcuffed and our border was open, they were exhausted. The morale was gone. They were exhausted. And really now, being free to do their job again, seeing the numbers drop, it's not like chasing mice at night. They actually feel like they've been empowered to do their job again. And along the lines of being political, I respect that you guys don't dive into that. But the facts speak for themselves. I toured the Holocaust Museum here in Dallas yesterday, and one of the first things you see when you walk in, and I'm glad now I captured it. As soon as you walk in, the first thing you see is an Albert Einstein quote: "The world is a dangerous place to live, not because of the people who are evil, but because of the people who don't do anything about it." And some of our legislators, I feel like right now, that could really resonate with them, that if you're not going to do something to protect Americans, then you're complicit.
Absolutely, 100%, and that's a phenomenal quote, and so true. We do need to step up, make your voices heard. However you speak out on your own social media, or you comment on, maybe you're watching this on Rumble. Hey, Rumble family, but right now, some of us, we turn on the news and we feel hopeless. Woke agendas, open borders, inflation due to out of control spending. The list goes on and on. But there is something that we can do. We can buy from companies that believe what we believe and what you out there that support our first responder communities believe. We need to stick together now more than ever. And there has been one company that's been willing to take a stand and stand with first responders, with veterans, and with you since 2012. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, and they offer the very best nationwide 4G and 5G coverage on all the major networks. In fact, they use the same towers as the major carriers. Patriot Mobile has service plans to fit any budget, and their 100% US-based customer support team provides exceptional customer support. More importantly, Patriot Mobile shares your values and supports organizations fighting for religious freedom, your constitutional rights, the sanctity of life, and our veteran and first responder heroes. Switch to Patriot Mobile now and get a free month of mobile cellular service, folks, with offer code BADGE. It's on the screen right here, patriotmobile.com/badge. Call them up, use promo code BADGE. That's patriotmobile.com/badge. Okay, so how does it work? Right now, if you're not on Patriot Mobile, you are giving your money to companies that absolutely want to defund the police. They support candidates like this Mamdani in New York and the weak and woke Texas legislators who are doing nothing but putting our first responders in danger every single day. Now, you can bring your phone, or they have really cool new ones you can get, but bring your phone and also bring your carrier. But 95% of your money now goes to Patriot Mobile to support patriot causes. It's not going to those woke companies. So again, it couldn't be easier. patriotmobile.com/badge. Do it now.
Yeah.
So Clint, with the craziness that we're seeing in DC, okay, it trickles down to everybody's local legislators. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we have been exposing what's going on in Texas. You have got these leftists. That's what, there's no other way to call them, that are these leftist leaders in Austin, in Houston, and in Dallas and other cities. How, as a police chief, how is the balance struck between our folks that are out there on the front lines enforcing our laws, and they got to deal with legislators that on any given day, it's like, would you please pull your head out of your rear end?
Yeah, fortunate to counter some of the politics. There's a lot of stronger police chiefs. And to your point on the national versus state, we have a lot of activist district attorneys in Texas, Dallas County, Tarrant County, Travis County, that love to let criminals out. We're involved in an issue in Tarrant County where an officer was assaulted. Her jaw was severely injured, permanently injured. And the DA wants to drop all charges because he said the suspect accidentally hit her.
Oh, yeah.
And allow the suspect to go free, time served, just for a little resisting case. Drop the evading, drop the assault, serious bodily injury on a police officer. Guy's a huge criminal history. But you have activist DAs with personal agendas, Soros funded, and it's a huge problem. And one thing that we're trying to do at the federal level, and we're always mindful not to create federal overreach, but when you have activist district attorneys, Soros funded, FOP has proposed a bill, the Protect and Serve Act. So in instances like this, where a liberal activist DA chooses to interpret the law their own personal way, it would give federal prosecutors the ability to step in and prosecute anyway. In Texas, as far as the House and the Senate, we've been fortunate to maintain law enforcement supportive for now. We feel like that is getting chipped away every election cycle. Mm-hmm. And my fear is at some point, I would imagine that Texas will turn purple, just because of so many outsiders moving here, which we love, but they always seem to pack their politics in their suitcase when they move here.
Amazingly so. They come here for freedom after getting shut down on social media or whatever the deal is. And
I'm going to flee California, but I'll continue to vote like I was still in California.
Exactly. I think the tide is starting to change, and we're starting to wake up and understand more in Texas, because it's exactly what you said, Clint. Each cycle, less and less protections for our first responders out there. And, I'll just say Governor Abbott will have a significant opponent in the next race. And Colonel Pete Chambers, who is a true patriot, a veteran, has done more to get these kids, break up the child endangerment rings, the human trafficking rings. He's on the front lines. He's been down at the border. Perhaps you've met him. But we've got a chance here to really get Texas back to what we deserve as Texas residents. Doing a quick switch back to the feds, Clint. There's a lot of talk, because it's Mental Health Monday, like John said, where we've got a lot of politicians that like to put their names behind bills that are giving more to first responders in terms of the mental health help, the assistance in that. But what John and I have seen, and it's been these past 5 years, it's like, thank you. First, we want to say thank you because your heart's in the right place. but the departments aren't exactly staffed with the people that know how to get to the money. How do we send the message to the politicians that, yes, keep funding the all important mental wellness programs, but don't make people jump through the departments, jump through so many hoops to get to the funds?
Yeah, and that's really a complex issue and a great question. And it kind of aligns with the workers' comp issues, and they do overlap. And we've worked really hard trying to get legislators to understand that a mental injury is the same as breaking your leg. If I'm in a foot chase and break my leg, or if I'm almost killed or in a gunfight or I'm forced to kill somebody, which causes a mental injury, they're both the same. They need to be treated the same. That's a work in progress. It's getting better. It's moving at a snail's pace. About 2 cycles ago, we got workers' comp to assign a law enforcement specific person to take care of claims and assistance on that. That's helped some, but it's still really challenging to get the grants exactly where they need to be. Everybody has a handout.
Right.
And so that money ends up getting divided and split. And I feel like by the time it actually gets to the people that matter, it's watered down, and just a focused attention, and into retired law enforcement, active law enforcement, people like you guys, staying completely active, even when you get frustrated with it. When the legislature's in session every other year in Texas, some states it's every year, go get involved. Put your money where your mouth is. We love when people send an email and say, hey, what about this bill? Or we propose this bill. That's great. Come down and walk the halls. Come down and walk in and go, hey, I'm your constituent. This is a problem. Because they don't always want to hear from us. We're considered labor or, the evil union or something. So they don't always want to hear from us. But if you walk in and tell them, I'm a Plano police officer and I'm your constituent, I vote for you, and I've got PTS, or I got shot on duty and the state wouldn't help me. The workers' comp was broken. That goes a lot further than my ugly mug going in there trying to talk with them about it. So I would encourage everybody, get involved. And even our non-law enforcement listeners, if you want to affect change, vote. I live in a small community east of Dallas, and I think 4 or 5% of my city votes.
Oh yeah, the local elections, it's really low. We'll talk more about affecting change. We got to take our next quick break. We'll be right back with Clint McNear. Stay tuned, everybody.
Look, when you need to respond to an aggressive situation to protect yourself, your family, or your property, understanding your firearm and legal position are critical. Officers know your skills are only as good as your commitment to training. So know what you're doing. So when you're in a vulnerable situation, we can count on your response. Whether you're a beginner or a licensed gun carrier, Carry in Texas offers basic firearms training, Texas permitless carry courses, license to carry, and basic 2A courses so you can understand the responsibilities, situational awareness, and learn the technical skill required when you carry your firearm. Go to carryintexas.com to find the right course for you. Join me, former United States Secret Service agent Samantha Horwitz, on the range for beginner basics, LTC prep, and range practice. Go to carryintexas.com today. That's carryintexas.com.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam and our guest today.
TV.
Or TV podcast. I'll get it one of these days when we switch back or we don't switch back, whatever. See, this is where my mental brain goes, with our special guest, 30-year veteran and past TMPA president, correct, Clint?
FOP.
I work for TMPA and the current FOP president. Yes,
the current FOP president, Clint McNear. We're diving deep into a lot of issues that a lot of people are afraid to stand up and talk about, especially those that are still on the job. And I was thinking about what you were talking about, those politicians, say the questions and ask them, get to the halls of the Capitol and say who you are. And I think a lot of police officers are afraid to speak their mind because of the ramifications they're going to get from their department. Freedom of speech applies to everybody except law enforcement. We are not allowed to speak freely on or off the job. We are considered to be on the job 24 hours a day. So police officers don't have the rights of other civilians out there. We don't have any downtime, which is a cascade of mental health issues. We change our politicians every 4 years, and the rules change every 4 years or 5 years or whatever it is. And it weighs heavy on police officers who are just trying to make a better life for their community. And I say this all the time, Sam, as a police officer, you're cut from a different cloth by God to protect and serve. Not everybody can do the job, and those that are out there want to do their job. And when we handcuff them, it is like going to work in a sneaker factory, putting little tabs on the laces. It's no benefit. You don't feel productive in your community. And I feel for every single law enforcement officer out there that's still on a job. You have 30 years. I was in New York back in the 90s. The things have changed. Clint, that's what I want to ask you. How do you feel seeing the downfall of law enforcement? Because I'm sure when you came on, it was a much different job.
Yeah. It's just an entirely different career. My grandfather was in law enforcement in the 50s and 60s. My dad, the 60s, did 35 years, starting in the 60s through late 90s. And I've heard them talk about the changes, and then watching now, I'm that old guy seeing the changes. And one of the things I wish just people could really understand is it's truly a profession now. And, I joke about it half the time, but these young folks, you have to basically have an IT degree to be in law enforcement, to understand all the computers and the cameras and the in-car cameras and how things upload. And I still wrote paper reports when I was on. They're young. Yeah. They're smart. They're forethought. These young folks now ask, what are my retirement benefits and my medical benefits? I didn't even know I had benefits till I'd been on a year or two. I didn't care. I wanted to drive fast and catch bad guys.
Bad people. Yeah, go after bad people.
This young generation of law enforcement are professionals. They're educated, but they're having to do things entirely different than we did. They're under a microscope every second of every minute. And unfortunately, I get a lot of phone calls a day where people feel more threatened by inside the police department and weak administrations than they do on the street. And, it's a sad state when you have an agency where they're more afraid to be inside the building than they are out on the street catching a bank robber or, getting in a gunfight. And I feel like leadership is weaker than it's been in a long time because of politics. And we need strong leadership where people will fight for their people first and then worry about what City Hall or city manager thinks.
And I think that's where lies the problem with some of the police chiefs out there, is that they're worried about their retirement plan more than personnel that is out on the street. They're worried about who they're going to piss off or what their next security gig is going to be, once they retire, and they don't want to step on any toes. And what's sad to say is they're going to burn everybody else to get what they want only. And me and Sam have seen that. We've talked about it with the mental health issues.
Yeah. Do you think that is a product of the bad individuals out there that are ambushing the police officers? The numbers that you stated are just incredible. Do you think there's I almost see it as like they're preying on some of the departments for that reason alone, is that they sense that department, those officers are not supported. So let's go there and do harm.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a direct link to that. When you look at all the experimental cities around the country, the San Franciscos, the Seattles, the Minneapolis, Austin's still in the early phase of the experiment. I laugh all the time, not laugh, cry really, Austin has perfect examples of what not to do with Portland, Seattle, Minneapolis, San Francisco. But in all of those cities are now on the climb out, realizing the experiment failed. But Austin is still down. They're still headed due south. And it amazes me that there are people that can't see examples. And to your point, yeah, I think criminals are smart. If they hear an agency doesn't have a narcotics unit, or they're not allowed to make certain arrests, or the DA lets you go, well, naturally, they're going to gravitate there. DA Garza in Travis County won't prosecute anybody but the police. So let's go to Austin.
Yeah.
That's we see, you talked about the female officer with the broken jaw, and it just sparked a news article that I saw from the Post. That happened in New York as well. A female officer was sucker punched, and Braggs dropped all the charges of this career criminal for the assault charges on the police officer.
Wow.
And it's the same thing over and over again. These swords bought DAs are not following the letter of the law. We've seen it, and I know we didn't really want to bring this up, but it's in the Texas news with this Austin Metcalf. Okay, here is an individual who was arrested at first for murder.
Well, you can say his name, Carmelo Anthony. Let's just say it.
Yep,
Yeah.
Carmelo Anthony. And the DA let him go. Put him back out on the street. So it's not only a woke thing; it is also comes down to a black-white thing as well with a lot of these DAs. They don't want to seem like they're being racist, or they don't want to seem, it seems like anybody else. If that was a black-on-black crime, he would have been in prison. If that was a white-on-black crime,
Well, yeah, he wouldn't have gotten bail for sure.
he wouldn't have gotten bail. If that was a black-on-black crime, he would have not gotten bail. But because the pandering to the public, they let him go. Well, I mean, am I off base on this? You don't have to answer in it elaborately, but am I off base on this? Is that?
I think in some cases, the Collin County DA's office has been pretty aggressive on criminals, and DA Willis and his first assistant, Bill Werski, they've been very law and order. I know early on there was some mitigating circumstances to that I think caused maybe a delay. And I think last week he was indicted on murder or
first degree murder
on some charges. But I don't disagree that in some cases it has gone on significant pandering. I think on this one there may have been some mitigating circumstances. DA Willis and first assistant Werski have been really tough on crime for a long time that I'm aware of.
Well, see, this is where I want to bring the point out, because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And this is where I could be getting bad information as well. So I'm not as fault for this as I'm in fault as just as much as anybody, because what I hear, the algorithms that I see on my social media puts me in a mindset to say, hey, this is wrong. So I'm way off base sometimes, and I don't even know it. It works both ways. It does definitely works. It definitely works on both sides. But from what I see in my perspective, it was wrong.
Yes.
And some people think it was the right thing to do. So I just wanted to get your take on it. I am glad you clarified it. So thank you.
Yeah, it was a horrible tragedy. And I don't know the facts myself, but I do know when I was really outraged at the beginning of maybe a misunderstanding I had, that there were some mitigating factors, maybe not as exactly crystal cut and dry as the social media folks were portraying. And then all the circus surrounding it and them raising hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars for a murderer. And it really became a hot button topic.
Yes, it made national news, and when I'll say when we were all in the business of fighting crime, we're seasoned, we're not old. Stuff like this, a crime like that, there's either very, very high bail or no bail. that was just it. And I think it was, it's certainly very polarizing as it continues to roll out. And the case, the grand jury did absolutely the right thing. In my opinion, again, this is, John, mine, and Clint's opinions. This is an opinion show, that justice, will be served in that case. I think we need to take another quick break. And when we come back, we need to get back into the best ways to support our law enforcement, especially John, you and Clint, you guys, you hit the nail on the head with the lack of support inside. And we've got these young recruits rolling out that may not fully understand that. And I think that's why we kind of have a revolving door possibly in our law enforcement agency. So we'll be right back after a short station break.
Leftovers again? It's time for something we haven't had in a long time. It's time for something right. It's time to make the right choice. OBBM Network TV is always the right choice. Choose right.
Hey, welcome back to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam and our special guest, 30-year veteran and president of the FOP here in Texas, Clint McNear. Welcome back, Clint. Before we left, we were just talking about different opinions that what social media brings and what the internet actually brings to our law enforcement. It hinders a lot of it because there's no accountability. So you can do whatever you want on the internet and you can say whatever you want. You can spread propaganda, you can spread lies, and you can cause riots and death and never be held accountable for any of your actions. And that's an issue that I hold near and dear. And I hope someone above me is holding it near and dear, because if I go on there and I spread propaganda, I'm really affecting every law enforcement officer's life that is out there. And I can cause some psycho to maybe get a gun and go do an ambush. Where do they get these thoughts? It's probably all off social media. The law enforcement's changed over the 30 years. Some good, a lot of technology is good. I praise it. I think we should have every available tool for our law enforcement, but it depends on how it's used and what it's used for.
Yeah, there is certainly a cutting edge to a sharp edge to the social media. It's a great way to communicate. It's a great way for people to air what's going on and keep up with family and friends. But when there is no recourse for, you can't go the old saying, you can't go in a movie theater and scream fire. But on the internet, you can. I can say anything I want. Sam killed Elvis and John killed Jimmy Hoffa, and just nothing anybody can do about it. I'm allowed to say whatever I want free. And it's really done more harm than good to society. Politically, I don't know that we've ever been more divided in this country politically. The old statesmen, Kennedys and Reagans of, civil disagreement and then go have coffee together or beer together. It just seems like those days are past. And there's such quick judgment on every item of law enforcement. We joke about Facebook lawyers. We have to release information, but then you have every Facebook lawyer on there giving their full legal opinion on it, and people buy into the rhetoric immediately.
They buy into it, and in some cases, it's not even true. The facts are dead wrong. And just for the record, I did not kill Elvis. Love Elvis.
I'm not saying nothing about Hoffa.
But it's creating a revolving door where we have young people maybe that are the ones that are staying have a familial connection, granddad, dad, brother, sister, etc., aunts, uncles. But the ones that are leaving are really, they're swept up in that. They have their hearts in the right place. They get out there, and then something like either they're involved in, they're ambushed, or they're on their first shooting. They don't know about TMPA. or they don't connect the dots because the immediate stress response to call you, Clint, and then it's like, I don't want to, I didn't sign up for this, and what do you say to the young folks that are just now getting into law enforcement, because we desperately need you?
Yeah, the first thing I say is thank you. I get to visit with recruits a lot around the state and young officers. And the first thing I would say is thank you. It's a thankless job. It seems it's become more thankless. And it takes courage to want to strap on a badge and a gun and go do the job. My oldest is in the military. My youngest leaves in a few weeks for the military. And I feel like there's going to come a day, if the community doesn't fall back to supporting law enforcement, where American law enforcement will mirror the military. You'll have a young person graduate from high school like I didn't know really what I wanted to do. So I joined the Marines, did a little time, got out. I can see American law enforcement being where somebody gets out 18, 19 years old, kind of don't know what I want to do yet. I could go to, such and such town and make 60 or 80 grand a year till I figure out what I want to do, and have some medical, because I still don't know what I want to do, have medical benefits. 4 or 5 years, I'll do that, serve my community. And then I'm going to go, go to college, or, go be a banker like my dad, or go do this like my mom did. Or I think the days my dad did 35 years, my grandfather was in it forever. I can see a day where 30-year career in law enforcement no longer exists.
Yeah. And I will say it's definitely a Texas thing, because as we have traveled across the U.S., Texas, they're in it for the long haul, and I admire that. But fewer and fewer on for 30 plus, for sure.
We take phone calls of people leaving at 10 years, 9 years, 18 years. We've had them leaving at 18 years, and I'm like, hang on 2 years, limp across that finish line and get that retirement check. And they're like, man, I'm just done. I'm done.
Yeah. Let me ask something, Clint. I know back in the day, as you're a veteran Marine, you're a Marine. When in high school, I'd have the armed services of all the branches coming to the schools. I'd also have fire department. I'd have the police department. Does your organization, does the FOP, are they allowed to get into schools now and give lectures on, or like career day or building day to some of our young minds out there, and really guide them and speak to them on a one-on-one thing? Or is that gone by the wayside?
No, that's a really great question. About a year ago, I was invited to DC to be a part of a leadership summit to talk about the recruiting and retention crisis in American law enforcement. And this topic came up. And one of the discussion items that came up is if we're trying to capture the minds of these people to get into law enforcement at 18 or 19, it's probably too late. In getting in early, like these Explorer programs, don't do it in the 11th or 12th grade. Start trying in like the 5th or 6th grade, where you can really make a lasting impression before social media, or before their convict parent or whoever that they are influenced by. Capture that then, and then you build a long-term relationship. If you catch them in the 7th or 8th grade and you've got them for 4 years in some form of a program, and then bring them on as a jailer or a dispatcher at 18 until they can become a police officer. That exact topic, you guys nailed it.
It's a mentorship, and the kids get mentored by our jailers, by our young police officers, and they get to bond.
Yeah, there's been ongoing discussion of how do we capture these minds? How do we get people to want to serve? One of the things that's really odd, and it's changed with the new administration, not being political, it's another fact. But our numbers in recruiting in police, fire, and military were at record lows. All the branches were not meeting recruitment requirements. That has shifted. My son in the Navy, I've got one leaving for the Marines in a couple of weeks, and all the recruiters I visit with, they're meeting their numbers now. But the heart for service overall, I think, is down. And I think it's still down in law enforcement. I hope that comes back. with it coming back for the military. But I think just the heart for service right now is down. And if you don't have it, this isn't a job for you. This is not a job to dip your toe in the water or just to kind of go through the motions. And like both of you guys, you got to be all in with all the passion and the desire. And it's tough.
Yeah, you talk about a lot of this on your podcast, Blue Grit. When we come back from our last break here, let's let people know how they can listen in and get more insight on that. So we will be right back with Clint McNear. Everybody stay tuned.
Rise and vibe with your new elevated morning ritual. Meet Rise by Frequency. Frequency charged nutrition. Rise is formulated with a blend of 7 different organic mushrooms, B vitamins, amino acids, and green coffee bean extract. Rise supports brain health, performance, and focus while enhancing mood, mental clarity, and energy. Enjoy the delicious mango lemonade flavor while giving your mind the nutrients it needs. Get charged up with Rise. Fuel your body and mind today.
All right, you hear it every week. Rise and Vibe with me and John. It is PTSD Awareness Month, and we are pausing right now to acknowledge the importance of your well-being. That's why we take Rise, because when your mind is in tune, everything in life plays more harmoniously. And we believe that supporting your mental health starts with everyday choices. That's why Frequency created Rise. It's a blend thoughtfully designed to support clarity, mood, and calm energy without the crash. So wherever you are on your mental health journey, we are here for you, and so is Rise. It's easier than ever to shop Rise. Simply go to abadgeofhonorhealth.com. That's abadgeofhonorhealth.com. Click on the buy now for your Rise or your Rise and Source. Source gives you all the minerals that your body needs. And you can rise and vibe with me and John every single day. Back to the show with Clint McNear. Clint, as we're wrapping up here, you've got a podcast called Blue Grit. Tell people how they can tune in, because you have lots of guests, very insightful, and you talk about a lot of things that we've been talking about today.
Yeah, so we like to ask if people are watchers or listeners. If you're a watcher, you can find us on YouTube, and it's TMPA, the Blue Grit Podcast. And if you're a listener, then we're on all the audio platforms, TMPA, the Blue Grit Podcast.
Okay, TMPA, the Blue Grit Podcast.
That's it. Like True Grit, the old Western, but Blue Grit.
Yeah, but Blue Grit, I love it. And do you, when do you release new episodes?
They come out every Tuesday. They drop every Tuesday.
All right. So tomorrow, after you go and watch the replay of A Badge of Honor TV, jump on to the Blue Grit podcast with Clint and, continue the conversation again. Like we started the show, get down to, if you're in Texas, get down to the Capitol. You'll realize why we need to support our law enforcement. Once you get down to Austin, it's interesting to say the least, but it is very necessary. And Clint, how do people directly support you, connect with you? Where do you kind of play on social media?
So I'm not super tech savvy. I'm an old guy, so I'm on Facebook. Seasoned like crusty old pepper. Instagram, CW McNear, LinkedIn, YouTube, all the channels. And I want to thank you guys for what you do. I attended a class a month ago, 2 months ago, maybe. Incredible class, what you guys are doing. And along those lines, if I can give a selfless plug to, I do some work with Copline.
Absolutely.
If folks will keep an eye out this fall, Copline Golf Tournament will be coming out. And the first run for the call will be January the 10th. It'll be a 5K fun run or a walk. It'll start in Rockwall at the Blue Wall Memorial there for the suicides. That'll be January 10th, because January 9th is Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. But if folks will keep an eye out for those Copline events too, it's a great way to support those that find themselves in a crisis.
That is amazing. And you at TMPA, you also have your annual conference as well.
Yes, coming up in Houston, July 26th through the 28th. National FOP Conference, August 5th through 9th in Miami.
In Miami Vice.
Miami.
Yes.
Well,
There's about 6,000 cops there that weekend.
Well, Clint, I want to, on behalf of myself and Sam, we want to thank you and your team and the FOP for everything you do. You do a lot of the behind the scenes work, a lot of the leg work, a lot of the dirty work that keeps our law enforcement alive. I think without the support of you guys, law enforcement would be in a worse position. And I thank you for keeping them above their heads above water. It's because of you we have the greatest law enforcement in the country, and I want to thank you.
Well, that goes both ways. You guys are doing amazing work, and I would say to all the listeners, if you find yourself in a spot, reach out. I was at the rodeo Saturday night. Phone started going off, and it was somebody in crisis from responding to an active shooter, and they'd found themselves. And I was so thankful they reached out, because so many people don't. And we keep hearing of these suicides. And your group, all these groups that are actively working in this show, man, reach out. Please reach out.
Well, thank you, Clint. Your messages, and they were many mic drop moments on tonight's show. We appreciate your support. Loud and clear, if you are a law enforcement officer, law enforcement family, law enforcement, you support law enforcement, get in touch with TMPA, get in touch with Clint at the FOP, find out how you can support directly. And again, if you're just starting your career or you're finding yourself at a crossroads in your career, reach out to Clint. I mean, these guys that have 30 plus years as law enforcement folks, they can walk you through the tough stuff because we want you to be here. So please reach out to Clint and get the answers to your questions, and let TMPA and Clint support you. So thank you, Clint, for being here. We will absolutely be in touch, and keep doing the hard work and the tough work that you're doing. It is very much appreciated by us and a lot of folks out there that you may not hear from. So we're grateful to you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
Y'all as well. Stay safe, please.
Take care.
Thanks. You too. This phenomenal, guys, as you know, we're not a political show, but we could not stand by any longer with the state of law enforcement and what is going on for our first responders, especially after Idaho. You heard the numbers from Clint with the ambushes. It's heartbreaking. And
I didn't know there were that many. I was taken back when he told me how many ambushes there really were. So that is great. I mean, for what these guys do, it is amazing.
If you visit the Texas FOP website and TMPA's Instagram, unfortunately, it is heartbreaking. You will just scroll past those that we lost, the ambushes. You will see how real and how dangerous it is out there, and how, again, these liberal leaders, these leftist leaders are putting our first responders directly in harm's way. So, you know, we got to fight for them. We've got to support them. We are here for you at abadgeofhonor.org. Visit our website. You can scroll down to our partners and resources. You will hear you will see Copline. They're one of our partners. Click on the logo, get in touch. Clint talked about Copline. Get involved, support them directly. And you know, if you're finding yourself at that crossroads, reach out to the numerous organizations that are there for you to serve you. Again, that's abadgeofhonor.org. We've got to take back America. We've got to take back these cities and show our first responders that we are here for you. You have got prayer warriors around the country that want you to go home safe every day. So thank you for what you do. protecting our communities. We've got amazing companies behind you like Patriot Mobile. Again, go to patriotmobile.com/badge. Give directly to first responders and our veterans. And so we're happy to be part of Patriot Mobile's network there supporting our first responders. To our veterans out there, thank you for fighting the good fight that allow us to do a show like this every single week. To our active duty personnel spread out across the globe, things have heated up again. Everybody needs to be praying that we are not going to see another war wherever it may be. We know we've got forces in the background that want to draw us into that. We can't let it happen. So we are praying for you as well. Thank you for keeping our shores safe here at home. John, take us home.
It's been a powerful show. You said it right off the bat. We are unstable. You never know if we're going to go to war. The real heroes are the ones out in the street protecting you. If you couldn't call 911, think about the effects of that. Pray for our law enforcement each and every day and our veterans each and every day. And this 4th of July, don't think about canceling it. Celebrate it. Peace.
Till next week, everybody. Take care.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBM Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBM Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.